Imagine you didn't have breakfast this morning. How would that make you feel?
Hello, Sage. This is Cody. Or how? Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, oh. Yeah. Check it out. Hear the echo in the night sky, with stars and headlights entwine. Tales of diesel and determination, living life beyond the white line.
There's a stretch where silence roars, sirens hum a solemn tune. Every journey writes a saga in the glow of the highway moon.
Sage Outcast Porter, where the big lows, big roads meet.
Talking miles,
talking metal,
every ridge,
every ride,
every week.
Sage Outcast Porter,
From the yard to the last white line.
if it's trucking and bones,
Deep hustle,
tune into that state of mind. Keep the vibe
burning bright,
while the world
wave the night,
through the miles.
to the time.
We ride on.
In the endless climb. In the endless climb. In the endless
Sage. I'm sorry. Please don't record this.
All right, we are back. I am back. It is Tuesday, and remember the new dates are Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays. And Tuesdays and Fridays are going to be logistics shows. We're talking a little bit about freight, talk a little bit about logistics, tariffs, things like that. And Wednesdays, we talk politics. So I'm currently under, not review, but I got slapped with a strike. Not really. Kind of a strike because Jubilee doesn't like me playing any of their debates. So I did get a strike. So if you would do me a favor and basically hit the like button, that would be much appreciated. We just did. Hang on. Let me start the party. Let's see if this works. Did I get this working? I did.
Hey.
What?
You are not Kevin Costner.
Very true. Very true. Kevin Costner doesn't care about logistics, and I do. And it makes me better than Kevin Costner, to be completely honest. Actually, we got a couple things. So I did, let's do this. Let's start over here. So on last week, Wednesday, I got hit with a strike from playing Jubilee debates on the Wednesday show. Now, those shows go to members only, which is like 99 cents. So anytime that happens, that basically they kind of throttle you in the algorithms and they take you out and I get lesser views, which is fine. So I need your assistance hitting the like and subscribe button. Then I basically took off the weekend. Anything happened to me over the weekend? Here's one of the things that happened to me on the weekend. So yesterday, I was not in the Discord till later. So here's what happened. I was all excited because this is actually next Monday's my birthday. So I was all excited, and I was thinking that my wife was going to take me to the main championship deer calling championships, right? The main deer calling championships. And so I was all excited about that because I'm like, ooh, she's going to surprise me. Now, she told me we were going to the doctor, but I thought she was trying to trick me. Now, she told me she wasn't, and little did I find out that I actually went to the doctor, and I did not get to participate in or even see the main deer calling championships. Now, if you're interested in what that actually is, you should Google it. It's something that once you see it, it's never going to go away. So be advised that that's a true statement there. So I actually went to the doctor yesterday. Now, I get along with my doctor. We have a lot of good discourse. But yesterday, I think I got a diagnosis of TDS, and I'm hoping to be able to get both medication and disability for it. because my doctor thinks I might have TDS, which is weird because TDS normally stems from not taking Trump at word value, not taking him at word value, and actually then going and saying, well, here's some facts, and then once we present the facts, then I get notified that I have TDS. But we're gonna go down that road and see what it looks like to get disability for TDS, and even if it's a possibility, maybe it is. I don't know. No, I don't think she's serious, but if she is, I don't know. Do you think we can apply for TDS? Do you think we should? I don't mind being known for TDS if I can get disability for it. Because is it ever going to go away? It might never go away. Like, I might be on that disability for as long as Trump is with us, even if he's not president, because he might run in 2028. So I'm thinking we should all dive into this, because although they say that I am paid by the left, I would much rather be paid by the government for my dislike of Trump policies and things like that. And if that's the case, I think there's a lot of people that would join me on that situation, to be completely honest. Crybaby channel? What are you talking about? I'm helping all of us get money. I don't understand how it's a crybaby. What? We can all apply for this and get funded by the government. I know we're supposed to get Doge checks and tariff checks and all this other stuff, but what if we be getting that and be receiving some type of disability efforts from the mental state that has been told to me I am by the President of the United States of America. I mean, if the President of the United States of America says I have it, I probably have it. So I should probably be getting money for it. And I'm tired of not putting in for disability. I waited a long time for my shoulder, and now my shoulder's killing me. I waited a long time for my shoulder that I should have put in for. I'm thinking we should move towards that. Okay. That being said, I'm gonna dive into here what we do here. So basically, my name's Sage. We cover Tuesdays. We cover logistics. We do reaction videos. I got a couple reaction videos for you. But it's logistics and trucking based. So if you're not into trucking and logistics space, I get it. Angus is one of those non put in there. So I understand if you're not want to stick around. I get it. It's a specialty niche type of thing. But that's kind of what we cover on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, we do political. That way Angus can come back and he can be a caller. It is a call-in show. Boop. That's the phone number for the call-in show. Angus, I don't think you're in this country, but you might be. But, okay, that being said, let me grab some... I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm probably going to say it anyways. I did watch, and I know I'm not supposed to call out names or something, or ad friendly if you don't call off names, but I respectfully disagree with I watched Mark Dementor's last show in regards to the list of box trucks, best box truck cities out there, and I respectfully disagree with that poll. I think he had his numbers mixed up. Also, I think that Florida is a bigger box truck area than he thinks. But I'm going to leave it at that right now. I'm going to leave it at that because I have but it's a respectful discourse debate in regards to the polling that he did. But, nothing, not targeting, but, that little bit of discourse and debate and back and forth is good. It's good. All right. Okay. Let me pull this over on the screen here. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in spot markets. Friday, I'll be pulling up. I have access to Truck Stop now because I wouldn't do that just because I'm an open deck. Not that that's bad. It's just I specialize in open deck and over-dimensional freight and specialized equipment. So for me, Truck Stop is way better for that. Oh, also, I've moved since I live in pre-Canada, I've gone ahead and changed my ARC Raider to wear hockey equipment. Might be lacrosse equipment. Don't really care. It's the closest thing I can get to hockey equipment because I'm pre-Canada. That's where I live. Okay. So I will be doing Truck Stop and pull up like the maps and pull up the density maps and the hot market maps and stuff like that on Fridays on Truck Stop because I don't do that. All right. So, a couple things going on here, which is a good thing. This is what I want. We're starting to see a little bit of freight picking up. Now, January is usually pretty decent on freight picking up in regards to replenishing stocks from Christmas, warehouses wanting to move freight from distribution to retail, and things like that. So we're starting to see a little bit of freight pick up in different markets. So we're looking at basically the overall market. Right now, overall market is neutral, which is good because for the longest time it was basically loose and soft, which means cheap freight rates, very cheap freight rates, which I'm going to play a couple videos on that. The van market is still kind of the weakest, but, well, it is what it is. Reefer market, I'm still going to say that we're dealing with a lot of freeze protect. We're dealing with a lot of storms that came through in areas that got cold weather that weren't used to that. So that's one. Flatbed market. Okay, so if you're in open deck, I'm going to start to make some prescriptions. No, not prescriptions. I'm going to start to make some predictions in regards to open deck. So some of the things that I'm pretty much going to be doing or looking at is I think that right now we have an AI bubble, data centers, generator center things like that are being put in for data centers. I think the next thing that you're going to need for data centers is going to be have to upgrade our power grids. Like right now there's an AI bubble in regards to most of the things that are being built, most of the jobs and stuff like that has been data center. We're on an AI bubble, people are saying, in regards to data centers and stuff like that. So manufacturing has declined where data centers have bumped up, okay? Now, those data centers need power, and they need, so a lot of the systems that are being put in are battery generator systems that for backing up these data centers. Cooling is a big one. Filtering is a big one. And obviously power generation is another big one. So I'm thinking we're going to start to see a lot of that type of movement in regards to open deck. So raw material and things like that, steel and stuff to build these things, and then eventually into overdimensional freight, which we're going to talk about a little bit today in regards to specialty equipment and specialized equipment. Now, there's a reason for that, which I'm hoping to announce on Friday because I just can't announce anything today. All right. So we're going to take a look. Let's see. Hang on. All right. So obviously rates have been going up in January, which is a good thing. Now, normally we see some rates pop up in January. What we don't want to see is rates pop back down in February, which is kind of the norm. Now, they're definitely higher now than they have been before. Not sure if that's storms or we have, hopefully the Supreme Court's going to be responding to the tariff thing. That should be something that we should be seeing soon, I would think. All right. So you've got flatbed is up 259, van is up to 232, and reefer is 281. Now, again, like I said, reefer is also freeze protect as much as keeping things cold. So I think there's a big push for that just because we've had some storms come through and, food stopped because deliveries were stopped. Capacity got tight because of winter storms. So then we're trying to play catch up a little bit more on food than anything else. Because people, when the winter storms are coming, they buy food and stock up on that stuff more than they're going to stock up on shoes. Unless you're my wife, who believes if there's ever a shoe shortage, the whole world will collapse. So she stocks up. All right. That being said, we don't need that. Spot markets. Okay. Spot market are up. Spot market is freight that is posted in overflow to the regular standard market. So spot market freight is up. Last year it was down here at this I don't know, orange line. We'll go with orange. But it's definitely punched up a little bit in 2026, which is a good thing. 5-year average, it's about where the 5-year average is, which is decent because obviously last January was bad. Last January was bad for the longest time. So now remember, last January we had, Trump took office, and there's a lot of chaos, right? A lot of inconsistencies, and what freight wants and businesses want is consistencies. They want consistent in the market, and we didn't have that in January. Okay, well, at least by January 20th, but we all knew that that year was going to be chaos. All right, next one here is going to be, what is this one? Load rejections. All right, I know this is going to be boring to some people unless you're in trucking, but hey, I'll be cutting this and putting this out in clips and things like that, so just so you know. Sorry. The Sonar market. Okay, so Sonar is in regards to tender rejection. So tender rejections is basically, hey, this truck was supposed to cover this freight, but basically they weren't capable of covering it either because they went out of business or because the trucks broke down or because there's better freight on the load boards and they're just calling up saying, sorry, my truck can't get there. Things like that. Weather storms, things like that. Now, here is one of the problems that we have to watch for. So right now, before this happened, we had a ton of capacity in the market, meaning we had lots and lots of trucks and not enough freight. So that drove freight rates down, and it made it, you didn't have a lot of tender rejections. We're starting to see the great freight recession, basically. The issue is we're starting to see that take toll both on carriers, trucking companies, owner-operators, freight brokers, and things like that. So one of the things we see at tightening capacity is English language, right? I think there's been about 200,000, hold me that number, I think it's just over, about 200,000 that have been put out of service for not being able to speak English. Now, what that doesn't mean that they're just shutting them down. Somebody else can come in and drive the truck and, things like that. But we're starting to see businesses going out, even freight brokers going out, companies going out, trucking companies going out. Now, in regards to bankruptcies, there is a saying that's kind of, well, it's not just trucking, but it definitely happens in trucking, is bankruptcies happen slowly then suddenly. Okay, slowly then suddenly. And we see this a lot in trucking because, you slowly start to go bankrupt and all of a sudden you turn the fuel cards off. So in logistics businesses, that's usually what happens. It's slowly then suddenly. Turn everything off. We're done here. Shut it down, Mike. So that's something you definitely want to watch. So we see a lot of things happening in regards to the markets. Example is there's been a lot of bankruptcies. There's been a lot of trucking companies that have gone off. There was just a large carrier / brokerage that went out, and we're seeing a tightening of money. So people are pulling back on credit. They're not giving as much credit to the customers because they're worried about customers getting, and she's not in here. We actually have somebody that does collections in my Discord. I'll probably bring her on for a show. But we're seeing more. She'll immediately pop up now because she's probably heard that and her ears are ringing. We're starting to see more companies pull back on credit just because they're worried about people going out of business. So that is 100% some of the stuff that's affecting the markets. Now, because we haven't really seen volumes punch up in regards to freight volumes, we've seen some freight volumes. Like I said, the average is about normal. For freight volumes over the 5-year mark, more than last year, but we haven't really seen more volume. We've seen less capacity. So either truck drivers just saying, I'm calling it quits, or going out of business. Also, insurance prices, which is another thing we're going to probably start talking about more as I am licensed insurance. We're seeing insurance companies doing more to, I got to pull him up too. Damn it. I'll do it on Friday. Remind me on Friday to pull up Mike Johnson. We have to do more. They're doing more, and insurance is becoming more expensive because claims are becoming more expensive. The cost to repair trucks are becoming more expensive. The cost to repair cars and houses is becoming more expensive. Plus, you're having more opportunities of lawsuits and things like that. So insurance rates are going up. These are all affecting capacity in the market. So one of the main reasons why freight rates are going up for truck drivers is capacity. So if you're still in business, you're doing pretty good. Now, some of the other factors you want to keep in mind is do what you can to stay in business. We'll talk about more like that on I think on Friday. All right. Violations. Okay, these are the states that get the most violations for the English proficiency. So you're looking at Texas, Florida, California, Illinois. Those are the states that are getting popped the most for carriers that don't speak enough English, that the officers deem them out of service. They place them out of service where they can't continue to drive the truck because they don't speak enough. All right. So this one here. All right. And I'll go to the news stories. Quick headlines. Basically, tender rejections hit multi-year high, up 13%. That's good. That's a good thing. Okay, hang on. Warner Enterprises announced that they're acquiring dedicated carrier First Fleet for $245 million. So you're starting to see some buyouts of companies. Amazon reduced its workforce by 16,000 corporate jobs in the second round of mass layoffs. So Amazon's cutting, and they're cutting a lot more for AI. Either AI or they're probably going to be going more towards robotic warehouses and things like that. So that's, artificial intelligence. The Checkdown has said it plans to generate artificial intelligence to replace corporate workers. So that happened. Let's see. North American to deploy fully driverless. Yep, driverless trucks. All right. That one, we're going to close this out of here. All right. Let me get rid of this one over here. And let me jump into this. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about tariffs. Why? Because it's one of my favorite topics that nobody completely understands, that people are fighting me about until they figure it out. All right. So in regards to tariffs, and now I understand that Trump came out and said that, other countries pay the tariffs and all this other stuff. I'll get into this game here I think I can play the game now with the reaction videos. It seems nobody watches or is interested. Just saying. This is very true. But I'm going to be going. I need another 30 people to be able to go on LinkedIn. And once I go live on LinkedIn, I'm hoping to pull more people in because those people actually care. But like I said, down the road, I'm good with that. I'd rather have. I kind of talked about this before. I'd rather get back to the logistical thing and start talking about that and build, either advertisers or people like that and start talking in that than just doing the political thing. Because at some point, the political thing's the same back and forth. Okay, so tariffs. So I don't know what I have to do to explain this, but I can show multiple ways, which I've ever done, to show that the people that pay the tariffs are the U.S. importers. The U.S. importers are paying the tariffs. Like 95% of the tariffs that have been paid by the U.S. importers, not the other countries, but the U.S. importers. That's who pays the tariffs. So when I ask people who pays the tariffs, the answer would be the U.S. importers, because it's not always us. They don't always get passed down to you and me, because companies can find other ways to ease those costs. They can lay people off. They can go to AI. There's now ways to ease those costs where there might not have been before. Like AI is a huge help now to ease those costs, right? So before you might say, well, we need to pass these on because we still need all the people that are working here. Now you can say, well, we could use AI and we could get rid of 7 people, which would offset the price of the tariffs we're paying. We could do that. So it's not always about passing it on to you and me, but it's always being paid by the importer. So the importer's always paying that. The issue is can they offset those fees in regards to not have to pass it on to us? Because that's their last resort. The last resort is passing it on to us. First resort is to try to be more efficient to be able to save those costs. And the way Trump is using tariffs, he's technically should not be allowed to use that. Now, the Supreme Court's going to make that decision, but the President of the United States, until Donald Trump, cannot create revenue. Like, taxes are supposed to be done by Congress. So Congress can impose tariffs, and then the President can sign it or veto it. But the President's not just supposed to be able to just all of a sudden out of nowhere start taxing businesses. Or taxing people. That's a power that we hold to Congress, which is a good thing, because you don't just want Bernie Sanders coming in and saying 95% taxes on all, right? Nobody would technically want that. All right, that'd be a bad thing to both Republicans and Democrats, right? I don't think that would be a good thing. Do I think that we should be paying more taxes? I do, but I have a theory behind that. Do I think the rich should be paying more taxes? I do, but again, I have a theory behind that because, if you incentivize them with taxes, then they might spend more money to get tax write-offs. So if you can incentivize better tax write-offs for them to invest in their business or things like that, but then they're going to spend more money, hopefully, rather than save it with taxes, then I think that's a potential, but that's a whole different show. Okay, so the tariffs he's using the IEPA, which is the Emergency Powers Act, which basically states, hey, you can't use this for revenue generating. You can only use this to like an emergency type situation. But he declares everything an emergency, including the fact that the ex-president of Brazil went to trial and was convicted. He believes that's an emergency for the United States, even though he's not in power anymore and he has nothing to do with us. See, that would be an emergency. And that's the type of stuff that kind of makes me nervous, is that when the president starts to use stuff for his own personal agenda. All right. So the Emergency Power Act basically says, hey, you can sanction, you can embargo, but you can't create revenue for the country, which is a tax, no taxation without representation. One of those founding elements of the Constitution and a Revolutionary War. Basically, you can't do that. So he's doing that, and hopefully they come back and they say you can't do that. Now, does he have other things? Yeah, he could go to Congress and do the same thing, but would I like it? No, but if at least it was in law that it was consistent, it would be more easy to adjust if it wasn't something that could be turned on, turned off, turned on, turned off, right? The chaos of that is the biggest thing. Okay. Well, one of the other factors that people are not thinking about when it comes to tariffs are the bonds. So, and this is why I try to explain to people that we pay the tariffs. One of the reasons that I know we pay the tariffs is when you go to buy goods, you might have to put up a bond, meaning that you have to prove that you have the money there so that when the ship lands, hits the ports and you have to pay for that, you can't just say, yeah, I don't have the money. So we put up bonds. There's companies that put up bonds, and these are insurance companies that put up custom bonds. So this is kind of some of the factors that I don't think a lot of people understand, but I'm going to play this video right here. Maybe. Can I? Yes.
Importers were hoping for quick refunds on billions of dollars spent on tariffs, but trade attorneys warn it could take years. The Court of International Trade, or CIT, is facing over 1,000 refund.
Now, what they're looking at is if the Supreme Court says, hey, yeah, those tariffs were illegal, there's going to be a lot of refunds given. And a lot of companies are saying, look, there's no way. Like, a lot of companies have not passed on a lot of the tariff to me and you yet, because they're basically saying, well, we don't want to scare our customers away with price, so let's just kind of eat some of these costs right now, or find ways to be more efficient right now. Because remember, one of the things you don't want to do is what I call the Starbucks effect. I know it's kind of weird, but I is at one time there used to be Starbucks were growing. Everybody was getting Starbucks. You were getting their super coffee latte, whatever they are. I just do regular black coffee. Anyways, they were getting their Starbucks. Well, eventually, when we got into a kind of a money crunch, 2008 money crunch and different money crunches, people were saying, hey, one way you can save money is to not buy Starbucks every day. Just make your own coffee, right? So by doing things like this, it drove people to not buy as much Starbucks for a long period of time, which is damaging. So one of the things customers don't want to do is raise their prices, scare customers away, and program them to not spend money, right? I mean, like it or not, businesses want you to spend money. That's how they make money. So if you're starting to go into save mode, that means you're not spending money. So if you're looking at Oreo cookies, I love Oreo cookies. Anyways, I'm sorry, drifted off there for a second. Burger King. Oh, we're going to play that in a second too. Basically, he's not in here, but I wanted him to be in here. I want his question. So I actually do this without drugs, but I'm hoping that'll change, because if I can get diagnosed with TDS, I might be able to get drugs. So one of the things you don't want to do is scare your customers away and have them actually start saving money and not buying your goods. So they've been eating
related cases. If the Supreme Court rules tariffs are illegal, questions of refunds could bounce back and forth between the courts for months or even years. I've been speaking with trade lawyers and other experts, and there are 3 possible scenarios they lay out. Scenario 1, the Supreme Court could rule the tariffs are illegal and have the CIT decide on how the refund process will work. Trade attorneys warn this could be argued over several months and then presumably back to the Supreme
All right, so basically then you're going to say, hey, we got to get these refunds. How are we going to do it? I don't know how we're going to do it, basically. So that's one thing. And remember, what they're not going to get back are these bonds. So importers buy these bonds through specialized insurance companies known as surety companies. These bonds insure around 30 days before the imports arrive in the United States. They're required by the U.S. Customs Border Protection for all trade entering the country to ensure that customs collections are requested tariffs in the event that the importer does not pay its obligation. So let's say I'm not going to pay my obligation. Well, I had to have a bond in place, and that bond has to cover basically a percentage of the amount that the product is. So these bonds went anywhere from 10 to 25% more. So the bond amount by regulation of $50 to $450 million, these bonds went up. So they had to pay about a 1% to carry these bonds. So the problem is that you're seeing that these bond companies, these insurance companies, they're not going to get that money back. But they had to pay this 1% to carry this bond, and it's based on, business credit, to be able to cover the costs of the tariffs if the customer doesn't want to pay the tariffs once it's landed. Now, if they cancel it, that's different. But these bonds started to make a lot of money. Insurance started making a lot of money on them.
Supreme Court for another decision. This would mean months or years of additional litigation before any refunds are processed and keep the billions of dollars paid in tariffs tied up, leaving businesses in financial limbo. Scenario 2 is when the Supreme Court orders the CIT to start the refunds, but this will not be an easy task. The Department of Justice and the importers suing over the tariffs are asking the CIT to appoint a steering committee to manage the 1,000 plus refund-related cases. And scenario 3, the U.S. importers protest the tariffs directly with customs. This can take up to 2 years to process. In the end, businesses are stuck waiting. So why does this matter? Delayed refunds means billions of dollars are tied up in a bureaucratic limbo, and it could shape investing decisions for years to come. The repercussions of that are importers may hold off on hiring or other expansion efforts. This is also bad.
Yes, they're going to hold off on hiring. Well, we don't really need to hire right now. Let's use AI. Let's make people work harder for less money. That's kind of the stuff they're doing.
Bad news for consumers because shoppers shouldn't be expecting price drops anytime soon. Companies need cash in order to lower those prices. But with billions tied up in legal limbo,
because remember, these businesses took, they didn't make as many profits as they wanted. So they're going to want to get their money back. So they're not, if their prices did go up, they're not going to lower their prices anytime soon. Because why would they? Because they need to make money, and they're in business to make money. So they're not going to lower their prices unless demand goes down. So their goal is to keep demand the same and stabilize the money where you feel comfortable buying it.
Passing costs on to the consumers instead of lowering the prices.
Thank you, the one person over there on Twitch. I don't do much on Twitch.
The CEO of Spreetail, an e-commerce
I got to get the TikTok thing going. I'm working on it.
Solutions business, told me retailers haven't passed on the full cost of tariffs to consumers over the past year. Instead, they've seen their margins squeezed. Their first priority for tariff refunds will be to make.
See, they have not passed them on yet. A lot of retailers have not passed them on yet. They've kind of squeezed their profit margins down. Now, people are like, good, they're making too much money. No, sometimes when they start to make too much money, that's kind of a good thing because then they hire people. Then they invest more money in their business. When they start to make more money, it could be a good thing because then they're going to, like I said, invest in businesses, which is good.
Make themselves financially whole again. So consumers expecting immediate price cuts are going to be disappointed. And if the Supreme Court rules tariffs are illegal, trade attorneys have told me that the White House could make good on its threats in implementing a new wave of tariffs. That first wave would be a 15% increase across the board, and the second wave would be additional tariffs on a country-by-country basis, as we have seen in this latest trade war.
So I'm thinking that if the tariffs go through, you're going to see a lot more businesses say, fine, pass it on to the people. Pass it on to everybody because it's not going away. The Supreme Court didn't rule in the favor. So at this point, we're going to have to pass on. We're going to have to pass on to the people.
Bottom line, businesses need to brace for the long haul and be ready to.
Because it's very difficult to invest billions of dollars and wait. And this is what I try to explain to people with tariffs. And I see this all the time. Why would I invest billions of dollars for a tariff that can be turned on, turned off every other day, and which Trump has done? And then the other question is why would I invest billions of dollars in regards to something that might take me 10 years before I can get my return on my investment, and who knows what's going to happen by then?
You continue to pay additional tariffs. And for shoppers, relief at the checkout line doesn't seem likely. In fact, prices could climb higher before they fall.
True. Okay. Let me talk. This is Bobby Lowe's. We're going to start doing the reaction videos now. I'll turn the phones on. We go over here and turn the phones on because I usually don't get a ton of calls when it comes to freight anyways, which I'm good with. All right, we're going to listen to Bobby here. He had a caller come in. This might be on too fast for you guys. Yeah, I'll duck it down to 1.5. I was listening at 2-speed. Hello, Bobby Loads. How's it going today?
I'm not scared. I'm hopeful.
You're hopeful it stays like this?
I want rates to go up.
Right now, he's currently talking about rates in regards to... So a lot of trucking companies think brokers are scared when rates go up. Okay? We're not. Because a lot of times is that, understand that if I'm paying you more money, I'm making more money also because of percentages. We usually go on percentages. My average is about 18% in regards to my freight brokerage. I try to do around 18%. But 18% of $1,000 compared to 18% of $2,000, well, do the math. So I'm not. So what we do need as a freight brokerage is we need, like he's going to talk about, in regards to brokering freight, I need rates to stay high for a longer period of time than a month. Okay, because a month I can't make changes to my customer. My customer's not going to care if rates go back if it's only a month. I need rates to go up and be consistently going up. So that freight brokerages can make more money also. I can pay you more money, and then I can make more money. That's just a way the system works.
I'd rather, I would like to see rates continue to go up. Obviously, as a broker, I'd rather make 10 or 12 or 15% on $3,000 as 10 or 12 or 15% on $2,000. So
yeah,
exactly.
That makes the market healthier.
Yeah, but I was just telling a story earlier because I walked into my buddy doing a sales call today, dude, and it seems like these customers are out of touch a little bit, man. Like the shit I heard, like the conversation, like they're still thinking that they can move like some freight for prices that are not going to happen right now, dude, which is absolutely crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely been some pushback. I don't know. Again.
Yes, customers are not wanting to pay more money yet because remember, they're wanting to make it be as profitable as possible. Also, they're competing. It's a slower market for them, so they're not wanting to pay more money yet on logistics because their market hasn't gone up yet. Right? There hasn't been more demand. People aren't out there spending more money yet because remember, and we can measure this with the amount of freight volume. So there's a capacity crunch, meaning there's less trucks, but there's not more freight volumes. More freight volume would be more of us out spending money, buying things we don't need. And I can easily measure this my own household, basically. But these are the factors that then shippers are like, oh, okay, well, then people are buying more goods. There's more demand for products and things like that are happening. We're not seeing that yet. So customers are pushing back saying, whoa. There's no jump in the amount of items I'm selling, and I can't ask for more money yet, so why are you asking for more money? And the reason for that is there's less trucks. There's a capacity crunch. Trucks are going out of business. Trucks are basically, just English proficiency. There's just a capacity crunch, and we're losing trucks. Not as many people coming into the industry. There's a capacity crunch, but not a volume bump.
And I was
just going to say that.
I'm
experiencing the exact same thing. I had customers telling me, well, what, are all the brokers like keeping all the money now or what? I'm like, are you sure you're not a carrier? What's going on, man?
Right. So
they just think we're keeping all the money again, and I don't know. It sucks being in the middle.
Yeah, and you just have to, again, I keep saying the same thing, you have to pivot, right? And we're adding new customers.
I've been challenging
them to
I've been asking them to just go ahead and shop around. I mean, if they think that the rates, that I'm quoting them are just outrageous and they don't want to pay it, I'm like, you know what, by all means, make some phone calls, man. You know what I mean? the only problem that that's just not going to work with contracted rates.
Everything is just adjusting to the higher rates still.
Yeah, we just got to continue doing that. You're not the only ones asking for higher rates, right? Every broker, every carrier, every major carrier.
Yep.
I did not want to be the first person to cry wolf. We teach our team to be willing to take losses and try to really focus on customer service. But you get to a point where the market determines the market, right, Bobby? I mean, brokers don't determine the market, carriers don't determine the market, supply and demand determine the market.
Correct. Supply and demand determine the market. Now, Bobby's talking to a broker, and I don't know if I've talked to this broker or not. I don't think I have. He sounds like someone I've talked to before on another show on an X Space. But yes, supply and demand determines the market.
Tender rejection in the market. You know, those are the
14%, bro. That's great. Like, dude, it was like we got to like under 2%. We got to under, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Right. So I just see that being. I guess we've seen a new bottom. So sort of we hit an inflection point, and now we're going to see sort of a new floor. And if capacity can, you know, all these. Who went out last week? There was a private equity firm that had 2 trucking companies. I can't remember the name.
Oh shit, I don't remember the name.
One filed Chapter 11, so they'll probably. But one filed Chapter 11, and they weren't going to.
It was like WFX or something like that, right? Or something, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just can't remember who it was. And they're falling out every day, right? It's a new broker or a new carrier.
Yeah, but it's not. Are you worried? Like, because what's worrying me about is a lot of these brokers are going to fall out. Then, but you see, because a lot of the brokers are falling out, and that's going to put financial strain on the carriers, and which in return, if the carrier has a big balance with them, that's going to put even more carriers out of business. But
Yes. Here's what Bobby's saying, and this is a great point. So as freight brokers go out of business, freight brokers pay carriers. If freight brokers go bankrupt, then carriers don't get paid. If carriers don't get paid, they're like, oh shit, what do I do? You know what I mean? In regards to money, like what, you know, how do I might have to go out of business, right? So a lot of carriers are counting on $100,000 or $50,000 or $40,000 that they might be into a broker. And then all of a sudden the broker goes out of business. Now, what do they do?
That's also a correction on that side.
Well, no, I get what you're saying.
Would you say that's also a correction?
Yes, but then it's a ping pong back towards the carrier again. You know what I mean? Because say like R&R went out of business, right? Or they're doing that shit through RXO. So now say like they get some small carrier has a $100,000 balance with them, and they're not going to get that money, or if they do, it's going to be years before they could collect or whatever. Now you got, you know, now broker went out, and they're going to put an extra carrier or 2 or 3 out of business. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
their
like
bond is only $75K, man.
Oh, they're not
You're
getting the
exactly
bond.
right, Bobby. I mean, I think it's a domino effect. Liquidity means everything. Leverage means everything for everyone. And you know, there's some brokers that are just a few claims or a few double broker situations, and carriers as well. Diversification on debt load is everything. Diversification on receivables is everything. You know, all that matters right now more than ever. Probably going to be some spots where some guys can restructure some debt. You know, I don't think we're going to see rates drop anymore from a monetary policy standpoint. So we are where we are right now.
And private equity is not going to bail anybody out either right now, in my opinion, probably, right?
Yeah, we're
Dave, should I say something here?
Yeah.
So on that brokers going out of business and affecting carriers, mind you that when brokers don't pay carriers, they can recourse back to shippers and consignees. So then shippers and consignees have opened themselves up to double payment liability. So now that's affected those shippers and consignees having to pay twice to the carriers to see that they're paid for the freight that's moved. And so that's going to affect some of those companies and make them go out of business as well.
Yeah, which is the last thing shippers want to do is pay twice. I don't know. I'm just saying, I couldn't see a lot of people wanting to pay twice. But yeah, that's a great point too. But that process takes time, and that's something that you could be a trucking company could be out of business, correct? Before they get that money from the.
Yeah, we have some small carriers that are owed tens of thousands, and some carriers that are owed hundreds of thousands on this R&R, fold that happened with 8 brokers and their subsidiaries.
And how long do you think? I'm not holding you to anything, but how long do you believe it could take before a carrier that, let's say somebody goes out of business, actually sees that money? Like, I need the money now.
It depends on the debtor. It could happen in a matter of days because some debtors understand that liability. They have funds back to help cover those double payment liabilities. And it could take as much as 6 months if a shipper or consignee doesn't understand their liability to pay in a carrier.
So 6 months could be a problem. Or you have to take them to court, which could cost you money. That could be a problem because you could be out of business before you get in 6 months.
And oftentimes they don't pay the full amount. You're not going to recover your full amount of your, the carrier's not going to recover their full amount. Those people that are coming to the table to pay a second time will usually negotiate a settlement and pay a fraction of what they were going to pay originally. With rates already low to start with, when they're paying a fraction, you're barely going to get your fuel covered or your driver covered. But you're not going to make money on it for sure.
And how much are you seeing? This is just so everybody knows. This is Jenny. She was the one that handles. I talked about earlier. I told you she'd be in here. I told you once I mentioned her name, she'd be in here. She handles collections. So how much are you seeing? Are you seeing a bump in that now? You seeing a big bump?
Oh my gosh, I'm swamped right now. I have so many accounts right now, and I have people calling me daily to get help with.
And which way are you kind of seeing that? More carrier from broker, carrier from shipper, broker from carrier.
More carriers are coming to me to get paid from R&R and RFX, that whole list that went out right now. And people are freaking out because most of those bonds have been exhausted already. Or if they do pay out, they're going to pay out a fraction. They're going to pay pennies on a dollar. Like, I bet you that some of those don't wind up paying maybe 10, 15% of the total load, because $75,000 bond, when there's, for each of those brokers, when there's over $6 million owed.
Yeah.
It doesn't go very far.
Ouch.
So
that's a herder.
yeah,
That's a
and
herder.
it could take months. It could take. I mean, if you wind up in court with them, not only are you going to get a fraction, even less of what you were going, but you're also going to pay court costs and everything to get that recovered.
How many go to court, you think?
It's going to be very few because it's going to be a litigation threshold, which is probably I tell carriers we don't go to court for less than $10,000. So if you're owed less than $10,000, which with most like R&R, RFX loads, those what I'm seeing for those are mostly around 2,000 to 3,000 at the most. There'll be some higher dollar ones that go across country, but for the most part, $2,000 to $3,000. If you have one or two loads, you're not going to court over that. You'd have to have a big lot of it, and then of course you're out $30,000-$40,000 before a transportation attorney is even going to touch you.
Right. Ouch. That sounds like it's going to hurt. It's going to leave a mark. I think it's going to leave a mark, to be completely honest. I think it's going to hurt some people.
The shippers and consignees have been pretty receptive so far in understanding that this R&R fold is impacting them. And, I'll call up and they'll say, oh, yep, we don't have anything on that load yet. Send it on over. So they are looking at paying them. I just haven't been getting any offers yet. They're taking them in and negotiating them in-house to see what kind of funds they have to spread around because they have no idea how many loads haven't been paid. You have to imagine I have loads back to May of last year that haven't been paid. So if you're talking about 10 months of loads and they don't know which ones have been paid and which ones haven't, they're trying to hold all of these right now to see how many loads they're going to get in that they have to pay twice on before they start issuing out a payment because they have to have enough money to obviously cover all of those loads.
No, that's not good. Good to know. Good to know. I'm going to hit play.
We're going to just have to use the same terminology again, just pivot with the market and value through service as brokers and continue to build relationships with carriers and customers.
You know what's crazy to me though? I'll be honest. Okay, so you got to think these new trucks, right? You're spending 200 grand, 180 grand on these new trucks, 150 grand. Bro, these payments on these new trucks are $4,500 a month. So that means that means each week it's $1,000 just to pay your truck, Like the revenue to make the money. Like you got to think you're signing this for 5, 6 years to pay this truck. That means you're betting on 5, 6 years of the market to be good for $4,000 a month on a truck.
Imagine people buy 50, 100 of them at a time.
And so that to me, that's a big risk, So I've had people here in town, like I've had some people return trucks and I'm like, how much is your payment? I go ask these people and they're like brand new Volvos. I'm like, they're like $4,300 a month. I'm like, bro, you're betting on the market being good for 5, 6 years straight. Like, when has it ever been good for 5, 6 years like that besides
Yeah, the price of trucks is skyrocketed. I don't even know how some people are buying new trucks and trying to be competitive in the market. Now, it's different if you're doing OD freight, which is something we're going to talk about, but that's skyrocketed.
In the day, like that it's just a big risk,
But there's a way to buy trucks. I mean, if you're just going out and buying 10 trucks and you're working off of the spot market, I mean, you're gonna live and die, or you're gonna.
I was about to say that too. Like, usually you should have contracts or be a
buy
big
trucks
company.
that way. I mean, people who know how to purchase equipment, they're good at it, and they can keep their equipment turning. It's super important. I mean, that's kind of what I do. I mean, I bought 2 brand new trucks last year. I'm paying off another couple, and just kind of flipping them and going, because I think that is part of the customer service when you do have a fleet as well. You got to keep that equipment. You got to keep it going. You know what I mean? Because the customers are looking for that service, and the only way to do it, in my opinion, is with new equipment. I mean, a lot of guys are against it. Cost per mile is a lot less. I mean, or cost of operation, if you would, warranties. I mean, I get warranties on my trucks till the day I make that last payment is when the warranty's done. I just get rid of the truck, get another one,
So that goes back to debt restructure. Some of the debt restructuring some guys have to look at. It all leans back on how much dry powder you got to make it through the tough times.
Yep.
You can be a good trucker or a good broker and be a bad business person.
Oh, well, that's trucking. I mean, isn't that part of the problem? I mean, you got a lot of guys who know how to do oil changes and they know how to drive down the road and they're safe and XYZ. But when it comes to the business side, it's I don't know.
Well, you start chasing cash flow rather than profit, and that's when you get called in like a trap. So
most definitely.
It's crazy, man. I was looking through some invoices from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I was buying brand new trailers, they were like 44, 48, 49, 46 grand, brand new trailers. Now you get them same brand new trailers.
35.
33, 35, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. Wow. That's crazy, like I'm stuck on those trailers.
I remember a utility trailer was like 24 grand, bro, brand new, bro.
Exactly, bro. I remember too.
Dude, holy shit, bro. Like, I
have a payment for $78,000 utility. Don't even remind me.
Yeah, it's fuck. I don't know. It's nuts. But the thing that sucks about transportation too, bro, it's like a huge, like gross, right? Like a big gross factory. So it's like
that plays into the safety part of it too.
Hang on a second, Snorlord. You should join my Discord so I can bring you in through the Discord. I'll text you my Discord. You should join the Discord. I can bring you in during Discord. Snorlord, Viking Trucker, he does a show also. I'm going to be doing, we were just saying that there's a crunch in regards to not collecting money and stuff. So I've got somebody that does collections and stuff. Collections on brokers, collections on shippers, collections on... Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because Carrie's the only one who do collections on. And there's a crunch for it.
It's like when shit starts going bad, like usually like in transportation and trucking, you have so much money coming in that, you know what I mean, you're able to float out longer if you're doing bad, and then the longer you float out, the more money you get into debt. Which like, and then one day you're gonna hit a wall, and once you hit that wall, it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's so easy to say.
Big impact on the safety too. How many times do you see that people want trailers that are 8 years or 10 years or newer? And so if you have older equipment, a lot of times they don't want you to haul their freight. And I remember when I was driving, we would buy used Peterbilts for 25 or 30,000 with 400,000 miles on it or whatever. This was obviously 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now new trucks are almost 200,000 if you're getting, top end, with all the bells and whistles, and where they were, 50 or 60 before.
Yeah, and there are some insurance carriers that will not will not insure you if you have equipment that is older than 10 years old. They just won't insure you. There's the Discord. You guys should join the Discord. All right.
So hard to do, but you really need to watch your debt ratios, and you need to do everything you can. I mean, I know I'm saying the same thing, but I can't stress enough. When you start getting hit with bankruptcies for $400,000 or $500,000, and you have some bad claims, or you've got here and there. The next thing you know, you can be writing some big checks.
Hey Bradley, can I ask you a question? Are you doing anything with credit lines with your customers? Are you dropping them at all?
While we're watching them, so the first thing we're going to look at, just at a glance model, is going to be average days to pay, right? So if they're average days to pay.
Yes. Okay. Here's another big factor too, and he brings up some great points also. So right now, about my customers, about 45 days to pay. Right, if they start bumping out to 50, 55, that's the max right there, 45 days to pay. Now, holidays, that's different, blah, 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 blah. But about 45 days to pay for my customers. Now, we pay quick pay, or we pay in like 21 days. But when you start to, if I start to see my customers go 46, 47, 48, that's how close I am watching them. That's how close I'm watching them. I'm so lame, I don't even know what Discord is. Discord's like a video chat type thing. You should check it out, bro. Because like I said, if you join that Discord, it's really easy to set up. And then it's really easy to use. You can do chat and video.
Pay are 42, and they've been 42 for 4 years, and they stay around 42. That's fine. I can take 42 days.
Right.
If they start trending up, it's time to have conversations. So we try to manage, and then I go back to, obviously one of my largest is the Department of War. Well, if they don't pay, we've got bigger problems.
Yeah, if the Department of War stops paying, we're all doomed.
Than just them. So they print money. So,
well, I mean, that's pretty safe money. That's your biggest customer. Yeah. Then do you guys use a Sonia, for example, to run credit checks, or what do you guys use to run credit checks?
We do that, D&B. We do that, D&B.
Which one do you prefer out of here? I think, in my opinion, I think it's Sonia. I like it better than
Rattle.
Yeah, we look at both. And Bobby, in full transparency, I have a lady in my office that's really good at that. So I lean on her a lot.
Okay.
But don't you guys use your guys' factoring company to check credit?
I mean, you could use. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to customers, bro,
I don't factor my brokerage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my factoring company would check shippers. So some factoring companies are good at it, some aren't. My factoring companies are banks, so they will also check shippers. To be completely honest. Most other carriers pay automatically at 30 if you agree to enroll with them. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, so some factory companies will. Like I said, I prefer the ones that are banks just because they do really good credit checks on shippers also, not just brokers. There's a lot of factory companies that do really good jobs for brokers, and that's cool. But I use a factoring company both for my carrier and my brokerage, so I kind of want both.
You can't, when it comes to customers, you can't do that, bro. I mean, some customers, they will.
Okay. I thought you were talking about for truck.
Yeah. Like some customers will have like a credit score, but a lot of times, like when you find a customer as a company, you're usually the one who builds the credit score for them. What's your factoring company?
Yeah, and I didn't like, so my mine would use Bradstreet and stuff like that. So just if you're a broker using a factoring company, try to lean more towards the ones that are backed by banks. You can reach out to me. I've got some great factoring deals that I can hook you up with. Matter of fact, pretty much one's going to start sponsoring the show. So I did get a sponsor. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until
I do help carriers do their due diligence on brokers by looking at their days to pay. Also.
Yeah, that's another good aspect too. So.
But you have to really look at deeper, bro. You have to look deeper. I like Ansonia because like it really breaks down everything for you, like in segments, like how much they have like in regular bills, how much they have in 3PL, how many days, how many invoices past 60, past 90, if any. Then it gives you like a score as well too, like like anything like 70 and higher, like 70 and higher is good, and like it's really good, and like you should really check them every like 2 to 3 months as well too, just to make sure their credit score is not going down, so you can catch that shit early.
You can also set Google News alerts for those customers. So if they have a...
So he's setting Google News alerts. So one of the things that I do is I monitor the news, and I've done this for a while, but I've also done this because I'm in the oil field industry, so things like that. But I monitor news alerts for my customers. Again, I've got like 4 right now, technically. One is my big customer, but I monitor the news to see if there's any news popping up with them, to see if they're, to make sure I'm seeing if they're investing, if they're going to be, building something like carbon capture. Carbon capture was a huge thing that we were starting to do. And then when the Trump administration came in, shutting down deals like that, we've held off on that. Now, is it dead? No. But the investments pulled back on that.
If they're opening a factory, you get an email. If there's some kind of information that they're closing something down, you get an email. Also, you also want to look at who their customers are.
True, very true.
Like you can really go down a rabbit trail here. If you find out they've got most of their businesses with one customer, and that one customer is having financial issues, it goes back to the domino effect Bobby was just talking about with trucks. So when we have larger credit lines, we start looking at that. Then you start looking at, and you can't hardly ever get it done. Personal guarantees from the owners, the corporate bail. It goes on and on and on.
I never got that deep. That's good to know though. Now I know if I ever land on a huge account, that's what I need to do, huh?
Well, not necessarily. Some of them, we start managing customer contracts, right? I mean, they want these larger guys are going to want 45 days and they want 60 or 90, and you start talking about that. Then you have to start looking at your cost to carry capital. So what's your capital carry cost? What's your margin?
Yeah, that's another good thing, knowing how much it costs to carry capital. Like, it costs me money to carry this money. So that's another fee.
I mean, you can really go down and get really...
Okay, see, and all the guys complain about the broker transparency and all that shit. This is shit they don't see. Like, the customers that do, like, people that do take the customers that are 90, right? Because a lot of people, like, when you see in the comments, like, on TikTok and Instagram, when they're like, 90 days to pay, they're like, fuck those, we'll never take those. But, like, dude, you'd be surprised.
I think it was GE. I've had GE ask me to do a contract to do a 180-day pay. 180-day pay. Big company, obviously. GE, 180-day pay.
How many customers are 90 days and they're good customers?
Right. So they push the weight around.
No, 120-day pay. 120-day pay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they don't take into consideration that, like, hey, you got to figure out a way how to float that money. You either got to take some kind of factoring.
Well, that's what the thing is, but also like Bradley was saying, I mean, he's in a position where he could probably, float 90 days.
Well, no, he's saying you have to look. He just said you have to look into options. How are you going to float that money if you're able to?
Well, this is what I'm saying. But my point is that if a carrier wants to try to do that, and especially with the mentality that a lot of these guys have, they're not even doing it now for even a 15 or 30 day to, they're just going running to a factoring company. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is part of just, learning how your cash flow moves.
Yeah, I mean, we do
another thing, guys, you got to watch as a broker, and you probably should watch this as a trucking company as well, is if a customer just starts bombing you with freight.
True.
So salespeople, we cold call about 1,200 potential customers a day in the office. So
he's cold calling 1,200 potential customers a day. He's got a big brokerage. Right? 1,200. He's probably got 12 people making 100 phone calls a day. Now, it slows up that if you're, people are responding. But if you snag a customer and that customer's like, yep, we're glad you called. Here's 17 loads. Be advised. Be advised. They don't know shit about you. You don't know crap about them. And that's a danger, Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson. Because they probably have bad credit, or they don't pay, or their rates are so cheap nobody will take their freight.
Constantly calling. We got 90-something. I've got 90-something people in 58, something like that, or probably so. I'm guessing. Don't hold me to that, but about 50-something people are salespeople. So they're constantly going through our Salesforce system and cold calling. And if someone just gives them freight on the first cold call, a red flag goes up.
Yeah. First cold call and you're getting freight. That's not a thing.
Freight either sucks. They're really, really cheap, or their credits.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, at that day, the day that you called, the specific day you called, their normal person just got screwed them out of tons of stuff, and now basically you just happen to call. It's possible.
Terrible.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. We always check credit before we take any kind of loan.
Yeah, we're going to do that first, right? So that's just like a red flag. So, Bobby, if I just called you and said, hey, I've got 88.
All right, I wanted to move on to Gentry and Sons.
While you're doing that, I just wanted to say a lot of companies will take bids on their lanes if they're looking to change who they have. And so they'll open up a bid process for brokers to bid on those lanes instead of just your cold calling. So that's typically how they change their lanes.
True. Very true. Okay. So I'm going to cover Gentry's and Son. All right. Basically, this is where I'm going to clip this again. So Gentry's and Sons is a trucking company that also does over-dimensional freight. And I've watched some of his videos. Normally, he used to do boats. I haven't ever talked to Gentry. Have I? No, I have not talked to Gentry. But for a long time, he specialized in boat hauling. And then he started moving into other over-dimensional freight aspects. And he recently did a load that basically the video went viral in regards to getting in one of those locations. So I kind of wanted to talk at this. This is going to be over-dimensional freight section of this. So if you're really not in trucking, I'll be clipping this out for, doing things like freight type stuff. But this is something that I'm going to be jumping more into is over-dimensional freight, and there's going to be a reason, but I can't talk about it till Friday. I got to wait till Friday. It's driving me insane. I get it. It's driving you insane. It's driving me insane. I mean,
load is not going in there.
Oh, hang on. I listened to this wave too fast for you guys. Let me slow this down to 1.5.
There's no way you're getting that thing off Main Street and the Pratt Whitney into their gate. For over 100 feet long, my globe was completely stretched out, and I just want to get y'all's opinion on it.
All right, so he basically took a load in that was stretched out. I don't think it was completely stretched, unless it's a short trailer. But it's a stretch load. So when you have different types of equipment, which is actually, you have what we call RGNs, which is removable gooseneck, which this is, and it's a RGNE, which means that the trailer stretches out. So when the trailer's all close together, it's probably 29 foot in the well. And then it stretches out. It's probably 49 foot or 48 foot, or some of them go longer than that, but this one doesn't look like that. So he stretches out because the load is tall. The reason you use a lowboy trailer or a removable gooseneck is because the load is tall and you want to try to keep the height down, or a removable gooseneck is also something can drive up on the, but we'll explain that.
When you got it in there, what could I have done different? Could I have paid a wrecker thousands of dollars to come out and it cost me half the day? Yeah, of course I could, but I'm 120,000 pounds gross, and so that means that trailer was fully loaded. I mean, fully loaded, and we would have had to take a wrecker, hooked it to the side of the trailer.
I don't think it was fully loaded because it had an axle up. And he runs. Technically, it's 4 in a row.
Drive the trailer sideways, flat spotted my tires, been hard on my axle. Like, there's just no way I would have put my brand new $200,000 trailer in that situation. We did what we thought would be best. Pratt & Whitney did what they thought was best, and it cost us a lot less money. Had it fixed within hours of me leaving, and I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm gonna let you watch the video. I think you'll enjoy it. It was an awesome trip there. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
I'll like.
We love reading the comments. We can't wait to see what y'all think about this video. So I'll let you get to it. All right, guys, we are rolling out of here. It's time to go. Which we ain't gonna make it too far because I got.
Okay, so right off the bat, just so you guys know, I specialize as a freight broker in over-dimensional freight. I have for the last 17 years, 18 years. I have a CDL, I've been an owner-operator, been a carrier, and we've got some stuff coming in the works that's going to be even better for specialized equipment carriers. But this is the type of stuff that I do. So right off the bat, the load that he's doing looks to be tall, wide, and long, and maybe a little heavy. It's not immensely heavy. Trust me, you'd see a lot more equipment. So when this happens, we get pilot cars and escort vehicles to basically escort in front of us and behind us. So the vehicle that you're looking at that's in front of him that says oversized load is a pole truck. It has a pole on the front of it that is measuring the heights of the bridges, heights of the wires, because his load is obviously at a height that it needs to be escorted with a pole in front. Now, they do this to make sure that we don't hit bridges or rip down wires. It's kind of a protection area. It's basically just think of it a pole, and at the top of the pole, it's got a whip, basically. And this is basically what he's running right now.
Switch. My chase car showed up. I told him when I hired him, I was like, hey, you got to be New York certified, all the good stuff. And, Eli goes back there and checks him, and he's not actually New York certified.
Okay, that's a perfect thing right there. So if you are an over-dimensional carrier, you're looking to get into over-dimensional carry, you should have a standard operating procedures in regards to what you do every single time. And that one of those things should be checking that the vehicles that are escorting you are certified to be able to escort you into states that you're going to be going. Also, that they have proper insurance. Also, that they have valid driver's licenses that will not go out of date by the time the load is done. I have literally had one that we had to get rid of an escort because they were able to escort us to New Mexico, but on the day we were going to go, their license was out. They were supposed to get it renewed, and they didn't get it renewed, and their license was no longer valid. So make sure that you're checking your escorts and that they have all the proper stuff that they need to have. Plus, they have copies of the permits so they know which way you're going, and that the pole. If you're running a pole, make sure that the pole's the height of the load plus 6 inches more.
So we got to figure that out.
So he had to fire one of the pilot cars. I could say escorts, but that could get me in trouble. You know what I'm saying?
So let's see how this goes.
Now no, we're gonna let this go. Like I said, I'm critiquing this video from the aspect of a logistic as a overdimensional freight broker also. All right. So they block traffic, kind of let them out. Now, usually you need escorts depending on how wide you are, how long you are, how tall you are, and it's all up to different states have different regulations, and that's something we look up before we go.
Right there. Copy.
I have to get hurt.
Are there certain times you need police escorts through certain cities or whatever?
Yeah, and usually, a lot of times you start to know, but a lot of times the state can basically say, hey, you don't need police, or the state can be like, it'll be listed in the books when we know we need police, or they might just say, you know what, we're going to put police on you. The state can put police on us technically anytime they want, to be honest. But that's usually something we know by the permit. So when I go ahead and quote freight, I quote plus police plus bucket trucks as needed, because the state can put a police on, and out of nowhere, I could go through 1 week and there's no police. I go through the next week and they want police. Now, I've had to run bucket trucks where we've had to take down electrical lights, we've had to take down traffic lights, we've had to, lift them up and stuff like that too. Christ, getting out of here. Now, usually the state, these guys did a route survey. That means that a vehicle like that pole truck went out and ran the route beforehand and determined if the route was, if you were actually able to drive the route or not. And maybe sometimes where there might be a low bridge where you're like, nope, can't go that way, because it's easier to take up the road than lift a bridge. Funny thing how that happens. Some of this is going to be boring. I just don't want to... I want to find where he gets...
way through. Or I guess that thing just kind of leveled up or laid over a little bit.
Okay,
I had some change loose way through. Alright guys, we are halfway through the town. And I had to stop. I had some change loosened on me, which was... never had to happen before. I guess that thing just kind of leveled up or laid over a little bit.
Okay, so one of the things that I do want to point out in regards to this, and some of you might care, some of you might not care, is when it comes to anything that's round and that is on saddles, every single time, like I do a lot of fiberglass tanks, steel tanks, they're round, they're on saddles. Sometimes they're not perfectly round. They will, or they're not perfectly weighted. So the weight within them might be heavy on one side or whatever. They will eventually work them way into round, and a chain or a strap will loosen. Every single time. So it's just because as you're driving down the road, it's on wood. The wood starts to give a little bit because it's, bouncing a little bit and things like that. Because you're not using like oak, right? You're using like 2x4. So some of this wood's not. So eventually those chains will loosen as you're on the wood saddles. Like I said, it's the wood that you're using that's underneath this are not like, oak railroad ties and things like that. It's usually 2x4s, which is made out of a weaker wood, a softer wood, and eventually you start to get loose straps and loose chains. You definitely want to check this stuff often and early when it comes to anything that is on wood saddles that is placed on the deck.
Which I've had boats do that, but they don't use it, I guess they can loosen up quite a bit for a chain load. And
doesn't matter if it's a chain load, it's the wood that you've placed this product on that is actually being imprinted.
Stopped, tightened it up, and ever since then it's riding smooth as silk. I just hit some pretty nasty bumps and turns, so hopefully we are good to ride for the day. We got 130 miles of Ohio, and then down through the woods, through the mountains, and back up. So that guy's going all over the place. We'll have to lift for, but for the most part, it should be pretty simple.
All right, I want to see.
Golly, I'm stretched all the way out.
Officer of the law sitting in the middle of the road there.
Down low, get the height down as much as I could.
Okay.
Big turn with a little pop up, and I got this trailer rope down low, get the height.
Okay, so these trailers are very low to the ground, and I'll show you this later in the video. They're very low to the ground. They run at about 6 inches from the ground. Now, they have what we call adjustable ride heights, which means that you can lower it up or lower it down in regards to getting underneath something. So a lot of times to keep the height down, because height is your most dangerous factor, they lower the trailers down as much as they can. Now, the problem is that if he hits a railroad crossing or the road is not perfectly level and there's, bumps or stuff like that, you can become a 120,000-pound teeter-totter, which is bad. So because then, you're getting out to raise the trailer up and down and stuff like that. So the goal is not to become a teeter-totter and not to break any train tracks if you have to go over train tracks.
As much as I could.
All right, so this is where as he's coming up to this bridge, you'll see that bridges, like I said, this overdimensional slope. Bridges have little slopes there, right? They have little slopes on the bridges. So he wants to go to the highest part of that, well, he needs to. He needs to go to the highest part of that overpass. So he's not going to stay in this right lane. He's got to get over to the highest part of the overpass. So he's going to move over as far as he can so that he's going over level, because the pull car is now technically a lot of times poles will go to the lowest part, and if you clear the lowest part, you'll be fine at the highest part. So I probably would have ran that pole car at the lowest part and seen if I hit the bridge, and rather than go to the highest part. But some drivers just say, just go to the lane that I'm going to drive in. So he's moving over to get underneath the highest part of the overpass, under the highest part of the overpass. So then the chase car, we call it chase car, behind him is basically going to block traffic because he's going to make a turn here. And it's going to be some boring to some people, but I don't care. This is the type of stuff I'm going to cover because there's a lot of people that are looking to possibly start to get into overdimensional freight. They might not be doing this stuff, but they might be doing hot shots. They might be doing, they might have a step deck trailer and they want to buy a double drop trailer. And these are the things that you definitely want to start to think about.
Come on, man.
All right, I'm going to see him make this turn.
Road track.
All right, here we go. Okay.
All right, guys, we just come up on our first major railroad track.
So he's got a railroad track he's got to cross. Now, railroad tracks, a lot of times you got to call before you cross them, and there's usually a phone number that you call. Hey, I'm going to cross this railroad track. Is there anything coming? And they're going to respond saying, nope, you're good to go. This is the RGN factor of this. This is what we call a hydraulic RGN, which means he's got a pony motor that he can lift up. So right here, these are like ramps that we call them. These are the ramps down here at the ground. So if something like a dozer or a crane, you would flip these ramps down and you could drive up onto this trailer. So he could disconnect this front end from the trailer to be able to drive up onto this thing. That's what the removable gooseneck portion of this trailer. But this trailer's got a pony motor. I'm not too familiar with the global trailers. I know like Fontaine, XL, Nelson, things like that. But this has got a pony motor, which he's going to start, which is hydraulic, which he's going to raise up the front of the trailer. Now, most likely it's got a lever in the back that he could raise up the back. That would be the adjustable ride height.
So we're going to have to lift up.
He's trying to start the pony motor.
Maybe. Come on, baby. So we're on the fourth setting down. We're going to go high.
All right, so now he remembers he's at the fourth setting down. So now he's just going to raise it all the way up. And then when he gets over the train tracks, he'll lower it back down.
Go.
So now rather than have 6 inches underneath him, he might have a foot underneath him. Now he might go to the back of the trailer, and there's a lever on the back of the trailer called adjustable ride height. So what he would do is basically pull the lever up and then raise the airbags all the way up, and then throw the lever back in, and there's a pin that goes in and holds it in that position. But I don't know if he does. No, it doesn't look like he does.
See if we can cross it. Coming across. I'm going to drop it back down.
All right, so he's going to stop and then lower it back down because now he's taller on top. So he's probably permitted for, let's say, 15 foot, but right now he's 16 foot because he raised it up a foot in the front. So now he's got to lower it back down to maintain at permit height.
As we get over the tracks, baby, we're over. Let's go get this done. I got to get some fuel here in a little bit as soon as we hit 90. Guys, we are rolling into PA, baby. We just got out of Ohio and rolling into PA. Just got released from the state, so we're good. All right, guys, we're getting ready to park her for the night. We made it to PA.
All right, so he's going to go over here. I'm going to say he's 15 foot tall, I'll bet. So this bridge might not be 15.2. They might add 6 inches to it. But I don't know how tall he is. Maybe he's only 14.6. I don't know.
There you go, come on.
Can't tell from that angle.
They can't drive after dark, right?
That's the thing we're going to talk about also. You can ask for, some states will, like, hang on, let me get to that.
You good, you clear.
Now, what you don't want to do is bounce. So a lot of times underneath bridges and things like that, you can get kind of rough road. So a lot of times you'll see trucks slow down underneath there because they don't want to bounce. They legitimately want the airbags to maintain the control, because if you bounce, you might be bouncing into the bridge. So if you see oversized loads slow down going underneath there, it's also because they don't want to risk bouncing up into the bridge. Look, my loads have cleared bridges with 2 inches before. 2 inches of clearance, and we've cleared bridges. And I'm telling you right now, it's no joke. All right, so that right there. So when he talked about the fact that his chains loosened up, you see the wood that he's on is just wood, which is probably a soft wood. So when you have a heavy piece on a soft wood as you're driving down the road and you're pulling chains down, eventually the vibration and everything in the wood will imprint the wood. It will imprint these saddles right here. So if you're doing stuff like this, you always, often and always check, because at some point it's going to stop because you're going to reach kind of density. But before that, you're going to shrink. You're going to compact that wood, and that's something a lot of drivers don't think about. And then they get themselves a loose chain or loose strap situation, and then next thing you know, shit's falling off the truck. Bad to have shit fall off the truck. Listen, I learned this stuff from years of experience of being a carrier, an owner-operator, an OD carrier, having drivers, and hauling it myself. I didn't do this stuff. I did step deck. And then being a broker for many, many years. he's going to get in the truck stop here.
Check her load. Ooh, it's a nasty.
Right there. See that? Like I said, and then realize that these saddles are on here, and you can kind of see the wood. But the saddles are on here. Because this is round, it doesn't cover the full footprint of the saddle. So it might only cover 4 inches of that wood that's in there. So those 4 inches being pulled down, it imprints the wood. This is the stretch section of the trailer.
Big 5 axles hit it. 9 axles actually.
Okay, this right here is called a 3. This right here is technically 3+1, but he's running it as a 4 in a row because he doesn't have a spreader bar right there. So it's a 4 in a row, but one of the axles is flipped up, which I'll explain why he might have needed to do that anyways in New York. Now, if you're going to be going into, understand that this trailer has a license plate and a VIN number. This axle right here has a license plate and a VIN number. So this right here also has its own VIN and license plate. And I ran into a driver like this also, when you run it 4 in a row, you might not get 20,000 pounds an axle in every state. Now, normally you get 20,000 pound an axle when you do overweight. But if you're not in trucking, this might not make sense. But understand that if you add what we call a spreader bar, that basically puts a gap of what's a 10-foot spreader bar? A 10-foot spreader bar, or you know what I mean? That puts that gap between the trailer and the axle. And for you to be able to run this as a 3+1, you have to have doubles and triples. And a lot of drivers don't know that. So if you're thinking about doing overdimensional freight in any way, shape, or form, go get your doubles and triples. Go get your tanker, because if you haul a tank that's been used, you need a tanker endorsement. But go get your doubles and triples, because if you ever want to upgrade to a Jeep or a spreader bar, you need doubles and triples. That's actually a pretty thick. I'll bet you that's a 24-inch deck height right there. Maybe 22-inch deck height. That's a pretty thick deck. Those triangles are setups for what we call outriggers. That they pop those out and they can put boards there, and that extends the width of the trailer for items, things like that have wheels on them and stuff like that need to be supported.
All right, guys, we are all safe and sound and parked for the night.
All right.
He's getting ready to go around the New York survey right now.
Okay, so he's running a New York survey. So basically what he's doing is he's shutting down for a week. Listen.
So they run us all the way down around and then back up and then up around the lake. Like, it's literally what should have been a 400-mile trip turned into double and triple. So hopefully by the time we get there, we make it in plenty of time. So this thing don't unload till Tuesday, so they're going to rent my trailer for a week to let it sit on my trailer. So I'll drop it off, go home, come back on Tuesday, unload it, and then after that, pick something up, take it back to the house. I've got a big...
All right, so basically he's going to drop this thing off, leave this thing here, and then they're going to run the New York survey, which means they're going to jump in the truck and they're going to go drive the route in New York to make sure that he can clear all the bridges, clear all the wires, clear all the railroad tracks, make all the turns, and then they're going to come back. Now, you pay for that. Somebody's got to pay for that. So the customers pay for this, but they're going to go run that survey and then come back. So they're going to rent his trailer. Now, understand that this is where a lot of oversized carriers get in trouble. They don't realize how long it takes to do some of these, and then next thing you know, they go broke.
Bowler up here that's got to go back towards Tennessee. It goes over to Lexington, and I may grab it and run it back. Depends on how tall it will be, because it's 14'2", I think what they said, sitting on the ground. So that puts it 15'2", 15'3".
No, I think he forgot to do the math there. There's no way he's got 12 inches of clearance. So most likely, if it's 14'2" sitting on the ground, he's going to be 16'2" on the trailer. So when he says 15'2", he did his math wrong.
If I can load it straight on the trailer.
And then he catches it later. He says, I don't like being over 16 foot.
If I can't load it straight on the trailer, I'm not going to fool with it. I don't want to go. I don't like dealing with 16 foot tall up here. It's just too hard.
Yeah, see, I don't like being over 16 foot tall. So what he's thinking of is sometimes when you load things that have a large wheelbase that are on wheels, you can prop it up. We do this with what we call beam trailers. You can put the tires over the sides and you can lower the height of the vehicle that you're hauling. But if you can't, he's going to be over 16 foot tall. Do not Do not mess with over 16 foot tall in New York if you don't know what you're doing. I'm telling you, don't do it.
All right, guys, good morning. We are on day 2 of this big crazy haul. Can't really say what it is, but I got my buddy Eli Rogan. He is the man, and he's really good at high pole. He's got me out of some crazy situations. We got a new guy here. We never used him before.
That is immense. Once you get a high pole that's good at what they do, and they have insurance, and they have good equipment, and they know what they're doing, they will save your ass. Keep their numbers.
The guy we had yesterday, we got here, and I was like, hey, man, I need your New York creds before we can go any further, and he didn't have anything. He didn't even have insurance. So
he didn't even have insurance.
I had to turn him loose. The guys were getting ready to roll out. We're headed to New York. We just got the permit. Right here, I'm gonna get the same delivery. So today we got some big hills to pull. I gotta get the wife on the phone because she keeps my nerves down.
Say I have a lot of loads that are 11.6 wide, 68 long, 47 inches tall. That'd be a flatbed, 22,000 pounds. Would you need pilot cars? Depends. Depends where you're going. 62 foot long, pretty much, depending on if you can overhang any off the front, overhang any off the back. So it depends what state. So all states are kind of different. Some are going to need it for the 11.6, depending on what area you're running it into. Some cities might require escorts. Some might require for length. So it all depends on how it sits on the trailer and what state you're running. All right. Oh, shoot. Shoot. Hang on.
Roll.
Hard left. All right, so he's going to go to the high side. Even though the high side is in the other lane, you can see how that slopes. This is shit you need to think about. Even though that slopes down to one side, and if you stay in your lane, you might have to go to the other lane to hit the high part of this overpass so that you're hitting that high part. This is the shit that like I said, we just recently had a flatbed driver haul something, not us, but it was in the news, that was tall, and they ended up hitting like 6 bridges on their way of delivering this thing. I don't know how they hit 6 and didn't know it, but hey, you never know. So at the lowest part, he's 15.2, so that could be 16.
If they hit a bridge, do they have to survey the bridge or whatever?
Oh, you could. You cost a lot of money. That's what insurance companies fear the most, are bridge hits. Because they might, like if I hit a bridge with a fiberglass tank, not so much. Because the tank never wins. But if you hit a bridge with something metal and you do any damage to the bridge at all, they could be sending out engineers to survey that bridge. And next thing you know, it costs a lot of money. Costs a lot of money. I got to get more people on LinkedIn because I dropped the link for this, but I want to be able to go to LinkedIn for this. Again, creeping underneath this bridge. That's fine. All right.
Drag a little bit on top side. And forward, you were dragging a little bit on that last turn. No traffic coming out. Stay power.
Now, again, you don't want to start dragging, hold up traffic, damage the roads, things like that. So he's in this pretty small town. They've got him routed in pretty small towns, too.
I wish I had a GoPro on you on that one.
Yeah, that's that one. You look at the truck on the right here, man.
All these wires.
Turn radius too.
Yeah, and then and plus all these wires, here's the problem with wires too. So wires can have snow on them, ice on them, they can be drooping down. Some of these wires, when the ground's softer, the poles start to lean. Wires get more taut in hot weather, depending on hot weather versus cold weather. So wires can be, and then you have fiber optic lines, which are not cheap compared to like just cable wires. So you'd be shocked at how many wires get ripped down, and drivers don't stop. Sometimes drivers don't know because they don't have a chase car. So it is possible, but you'd be shocked at how many wires get ripped down.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks. We got a big detour, guys, up around the lake today.
All right, I'm going to whip through some of this because I'm cutting close on time. Okay. Currently, he's driving at night. So now here is where a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you can't drive at night. He broke the law. So what you have to understand is that most of the time you can only drive sunrise to sunset 30 minutes after, 30 minutes before. True. Depending on if you're pulling heavy or if you're pulling overdimensional. Sometimes when you're heavy, you can because you're not an overdimensional. You're just heavy. Now, some states like California, New York, these are two, you can request night runs. Alabama will make you a night run if the load is too big that they don't want traffic on the road. But sometimes you can say, hey, you can apply for permits and you can apply for night running at night when you put in for your permit. Sometimes the states will be like, hey, it's safer for you to run at night, so we're gonna let you run at night. But that's stuff that you have to have a good permit office, and you're going to have to be able to go and say, hey, can I get night running? Can I get this? Can I get that? And they'll put in for it. Sometimes the state will just kick back and say, no, you can't have it. You can't have it. States like Alabama, they might force you to. States like California, you can ask. New York is one of those states, and he's in New York right now. They might deem it safer at night, or he might have asked for nighttime running. So yes, you can in some states. Some states you can't. They just don't care. But there are states that will allow you to if it's safer to run at night with the load than during the day. So, like I said, so far, I think he's doing a good job, to be completely honest, from what I see. So he might have asked for night. They might have asked for night travel, or the state might have said, we want night travel. All right, he's going to get to the job site, and that's when the fun begins. Now, when we run,
know by now we hired Grinding Gears. Grinding Gears YouTube channel, guys.
When we run permits, the job of the carrier and the freight broker is to get it from the road to the road. Meaning, if you're going from point A to point B, my job is to get it from city road to city road or state road to state road, not private property. It is not my job to clear the road. If I give you a price, it means I can get it to your front door. Where I take it from here is not a part of the deal. Okay? And when you're quoting freight, you want to make sure, this type of freight, you want to make sure customers and brokers understand this. Because there have been times where I have gotten to the front door and then I have to go another 5 miles into this plant, and there's all kinds of shit in this way of this plant that we can't, we're too big. We're just too big. They've had to bring in other equipment to offload it off of us because of Jersey barriers or gates or those stupid yellow, and you'll see them here. Actually, let me put play.
Check it out. So, probably on
All right, so he's going to park there. This is the street that he's going to set up on. He's going into this RTX in the morning. So he's setting up to be able to go into there in the morning. Let me...
There. Come in. That's a pretty sweet picture right there.
That thing goes in the box.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
That's a pretty sweet picture right there.
Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to save that. That's a good point. That's a good point. Perfect. All right.
Our project.
All the stuff before the
Pressure.
So he is stretched out, probably 20 foot. He stretched out 20 foot. So at 29 in the well, he probably has 49 in the well. So he's stretched out and trying to make a turn. Now, what these stupid yellow pylons or posts or whatever, these things, we have had to take it off of our trailer and put it on a flatbed because we couldn't make turns around these posts sometimes. And the load's going to hit the post. So we put it on a taller trailer. We don't care about height at that point because there's nothing in our way. Now, his job was to get it to this street. It's their job, it's the shipper's or receiver's job, depending on what you're doing, to make it where he can now deliver the product. Okay? That's private property. It's your job. It's my job to get it here to the front door. It's your job to either cut the gate down, open up the fence, give me clear access to be able to deliver the freight. So there have been times where A tractor trailer is not an off-road vehicle. And there have been times where they're like, yeah, put it over there in that field. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Because we're going to get stuck and we're going to bury this truck and then we're going to have to have it towed out and we're not paying for this. So when he says that I could have called a wrecker, no, Gentry. Do not call a wrecker for private property. That is not your responsibility. It is the responsibility of the customer to make it where you can deliver the product in which they purchased into their facility. So don't call a wrecker for them unless they say we'll pay for it. We'll pay for the wrecker. Also, be very, very, very careful that if you're going to have a wrecker, that when the wrecker hooks up to the trailer, you're not going to damage your trailer or damage the product on the trailer just to try to get in the front gate. Because you will be held accountable as long as that is on your trailer for damages. So that's the only thing I heard him say, that I could have called a record. No. Make them cut the gates down because that's their private property. They should have been aware of this. They should have known how big these things were. It is not your job. That's not your job. Your job was to get it safely on the roads. Their job is to get you safely to the offload site on private property. He can't make the turn with the gates there. He just can't make it. See, he just can't make the turn. Either when he goes to cut, either the fence is going to cut into the product, into the freight. He just can't make it. He's going to damage the freight, making it onto private property. That's their responsibility.
Right up when you go forward, Mark. It's probably going to roll. That fence.
So here's the other thing he's taking into account, which is very good, is as he makes this turn, the trailer will lean that way. It's going to lean that way. So he's making sure that when the trailer leans that way, that it doesn't lean the product into the fence. Trust me, drivers don't think about that. And then they make a turn and products lean one way or the other. And next thing you know, they hit a fence. Because trailers lean because of weight. And this is top heavy. This is definitely heavier at the top than it is at the bottom.
Do you like the fence or don't like the fence?
Do you like the fence or don't like the fence? Well, it doesn't really matter. Fence is coming down.
You like it for now. Right. I think we bring it in and tell you if we can and then reassess. Yeah. Now let's try it. Let's see what it does. It might just be the corner that's going to catch the fence. Because we got it. I mean, it's going to travel pretty good without. There's not.
Now, one of the other things they could have did is they could have said, look, we can't cut this fence. Or look, there's shit there we can't move. Then I would have basically, when we did the survey company would have came to me and said, you're not going to make this turn. Now, they might come to me and say there's a fence they have to take down. But they might come to me and say, you're not going to make a turn into the plant. And then I might go to the customer and say, hey, we're not going to make the turn into the plant. We have two options. We have option A. Well, actually, we have three options. We have option A. You're going to have to cut the fence down. Option B, we're going to have to hire a rear steer or a rear steer assist trailer, which basically makes it where the rear axles of the trailer steer. You can steer them, or they will pivot. You can unlock them and they'll kind of turn a little bit. But we're not making it in if we don't. Or you're going to have to offload this, put it on a taller trailer, and bring it in because we're not going to clear this fence. Those are our options. And a rear steer trailer is more expensive. So that's going to be, for the whole trip, that's going to be pretty expensive. It might be more cost efficient for you to cut the fence. And then you're going to put that you're going to give that to the customer, and you're going to allow the customer to make the decision.
A big turn radius there, so it shouldn't go. Let's just see what happens.
See, a rear assist would turn with him, and at that point he would.
Trailer dragging the ground.
Yeah, he's dragging the ground. Even though he's up all the way, he's dragging the ground, which is normal for this. But you can see he's up all the way in the front. But the problem is the driveway is higher than the road, so he has to drag. There it is right there. See, at this point, he's gonna, that piece is gonna hit that fence. That fence has got to come down.
Oh, boys. Got the fence out of the way, are we?
Yeah, fence got to go bye-bye.
Y'all had a good truck driver. You wouldn't have to do this.
Yeah. Just put a secret comment into the YouTube channel. The problem is, it's too big to fit through the fence. Square peg round hole, baby. Goes in one way or another.
Now, the customers might not want to pay for, a steerable trailer because they're expensive. They're not cheap because supply and demand. There's not as many of them as there is of this. We're going to reset up. We're going to try it again. We're getting all backed up. Boop, boop, doop, doop.
You better be able to back that joker, too.
Yeah, you gotta be able to back too. Which is, he did pretty good, to be honest. I think he did pretty good. And he's gonna reset up, push into the snowbank. Those stupid yellow fucking posts. Still, we gotta cut that other pole. Or bend it. They're bending it.
Now let's do this thing, baby.
And he's in.
And I was holding my breath.
Yeah, trust me. This is why, too, I run into things that, like I said, this is taken, now, they did that in a day. There's been times where, like, well, we can't cut the fence down because we need OSHA here and 17 engineers and 14 union stewards and all this other stuff before we can cut this fence down. So it's going to be until tomorrow or the next day before we can cut the fence down. Dude, there's some crazy job sites, bro. Plus, there's that thing right there, which is, this thing looks to be a bolt-down lug probably or something, some type of, that flange or that member right there. That was going to probably hit the fence.
Job is over. This job is over, boys. I'm done.
Does that make them liable for what's in the fence if somebody gets hurt? Yeah. I mean, that's private property. So they're all liable now to either repair the fence or put it back up. That doesn't in any way get affected to us. Like I said.
Ah, there she is, baby. She's here. The stack's broke. Trailer's wore out.
It looks like to be some type of pressure vessel. Not exactly sure, but I'm thinking it's a pressure vessel.
We're going to set her down, though, and go get on the airplane.
And he's going to lower the trailer back down.
Alright, we're going to set the trailer on 5. That way, if I don't come get it, the driver won't have no problem getting it out of here. Got to unstretch it, and then go.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to leave it there. Then they're going to bring a crane in, and then they're going to offload him, and then he'll come back and pick the trailer up.
We can try to work it over. Get the ass over. Yeah, we can get it over. All right, guys, I'm going to work this thing over. Guys, that's going to finish off today's video. I really appreciate you guys watching and supporting. We're just going to get into crazier and crazier things, but this is just the start of it. So, if you guys are enjoying this content.
Yeah, I think he did good. I'll be honest with you. I think he did pretty good, like I said, in regards to that. One of the factors is making sure he caught his escorts having the proper shit that they need. Because if he did need police escorts, they're going to check that. So if he needed a police escort any place, when the cops show up, they're going to check everything. They're checking you. They're checking your escorts. They're checking, making sure. And if your escorts don't have a driver's license, or their license is overdue, or they don't have proper insurance, they're just going to be like, yep, sorry, we're out of here. Schedule us for next week. And you could be sitting there for a whole nother week waiting for your police escorts to come back. Because they may not come back tomorrow. Trust me, they're probably not coming back tomorrow. You'll probably have to reschedule them, and it could take another week that you're sitting there because one of your escorts didn't properly have the insurance they needed, and the cop caught him. And the cop said, sorry, You're not legally able to run without this escort, so we're out of here. See you next week. And next thing you know, you're waiting for another week. So just be advised. I lose everybody? I lost everybody. Thank God. Thank God I lost everybody. All right. That being said, I'm going to duck out of here a little bit early. Tomorrow's a political show. I'm going to do a thumbnail for this one, and I'll probably cut this one, but I do want to, like I said, I think Gentry did a great job, and I've never covered any of his content before. I mean, I knew of him, but I think he did a good job on this one, to be completely honest. That being said, I'm going to duck out of here. New outro song. Let's end the chat. See ya.
Hear the echoes in the night sky, where stars and headlights entwine. Tales of diesel and determination, living life beyond the white line.
On a desert stretch where silence roars, tires hum a solemn tune. Every journey writes its saga in the glow of the highway moon.
Sage outcast, sports hat, where the big lows, big roads meet, talking miles, talking mental. Every rig, every route, every week, sage outcast. From the yard to the last white line. If it's trucking and bones, deep hustle. You tune into that state of mind.